Much for staying with us. There's been a lot of heated debate all across the country regarding Islamic extremism. Our next guest is a Christian born in Egypt who travels the country talking about the Qur'an. Usama Dakduk with the Straight Way of Grace Ministry is right here, right now. Usama, always good to see you.
Same here,
kind of a quick answer.
Sure.
I hate to do that to you,
Yeah.
but in a nutshell, when you make public appearances like you're doing right now, what do you tell people about the Qur'an?
I tell them the Quran is the most barbaric, savage book. And the answer is read it and you know for yourself. Talking about terrorism, what's happening around the world. There are 6 verses in the Quran where Allah declared to the Muslim and to the world that he is a terrorist. And so is his angels are terrorists. And so is Muhammad is a terrorist. And then every Muslim believer are greater than Allah for being terrorists. These are the words of Allah in Quran.
You can't say that about 1.6 billion Muslims in the world.
There are plenty of Muslims, Brother David, who know nothing about Islam. There are plenty of Muslims. I believe 87% of the Muslims never read the Quran. But the statistics of the liberal media, they tell us 20% of the Muslims are radical. I don't call them radical, I call them believers. And 20% of 1.5 billion, that's 300 million. That's a number could shock every person with common sense. 300 million are believers in the Quran, and they're willing to die, to kill us for the sake of Allah. That's not a small number.
President Barack Obama has gone on record many times saying he doesn't believe ISIS represents the beliefs of Islam and that overwhelmingly Islam is a peaceful religion. Your response?
Challenge Mr. Barack Hussein Obama or any Muslim in the world to debate us, to show us one thing ISIS is doing or saying does not fit with the extreme belief, the doctrine of Islam, the Orthodox Islam, as it is written in the Quran, Allah's word, and in Muhammad teaching in the Hadith. ISIS has proven to the Muslim world in the Middle East many times that they are practicing Islam by crossing every T and dotting every I. And I know these politicians, they will look at some of the things ISIS is doing, like, killing those captives in war. You know what? You never read the Quran. Allah in the Quran said, it is not for a prophet to have prisoners of war until he have made a great slaughter among them.
Usama, let me ask you, do you believe that if the moderate Muslims, more often than they do, were to step out and publicly condemn the barbarians with ISIS and Al-Qaeda and some of these other groups, that it might calm a little bit of these fears around the world?
Brother David, Quran chapter 3, verse 167 states that all those who reject the action of ISIS are hypocrites. Allah said in the Quran, how do you know he's a hypocrite? He said, by ask him to engage in war for the sake of Allah or to contribute. If not, they're hypocrite. Now you go to Quran chapter 9, verse 73, Allah said to Muhammad to perform jihad against the infidel and the hypocrite. So when ISIS are killing the Muslims who call themselves moderate Muslims, they're actually practicing Islam. No such a thing as moderate Muslim, because there is no such a thing as moderate Islam. Show me a verse in the Quran, unabrogated verse, which teaches that there is a moderate Muslim.
But we have friends, neighbors, co-workers all over this country who are
wonderful Muslim
are law-abiding.
2 things. Number 1, they do not know Islam. Number 2, they are practicing taqiyya. Quran chapter 3, verse 28. Allah in the Quran tells a Muslim, do not take the infidel for friend. And then he said, except his exception, that you should guard yourself from them cautiously. Or Quran chapter 47 and verse 35, where Allah said to the Muslims, do not be weak, calling for peace when you have the upper hands. Muslim in America today do not have the upper hand. That's why you see them peaceful. What is different between Muslim in Paris and Muslim in Biloxi? The difference is the number of Muslims. In Paris, they are exceeded 10%. In America, less than 1%. They believe in the same Quran, they believe in the same Allah, they believe in the same Muhammad, they eat the same food, they drink the same water, they wear the same clothes, they're the same Muslims. When they have the upper hand, they are barbaric savage. They practice the teaching of Allah, the final word of Allah, the Medini. When the small number, do not have the strength, they are peaceful people. Why is they practicing Islam? Or, obviously, do not know anything about Islam.
With the attacks in California this week, initially, I think a lot of reports were hesitant to call it terrorism. It looks like it is now being investigated as a terrorist act. And why do you think that it was a little hesitant there?
2 things in America. We are living with political correctness, which is nothing but, literally, we are digging our own graves for our children, our grandchildren by our own hand. That is the political correctness. The second thing is our ignorancy. Most American people, 99.9% of the American people, never read the Quran, never studied the Hadith. And I hope and I pray people will just get the guts, get a copy of the Quran. We have translated the Quran to an accurate English translation, and people can get from our website, thestraightway.org. As a matter of fact, the first thing we did after we published this book is we sent a copy to every senator, to every governor, to every congressman and woman, to the highest Supreme Justice Court. We spend a lot of money to make sure that the Quran is available to all our politicians. And sadly, I can tell you this, our politicians are one of two. They are most ignorant people. They never read the Quran, which I send it to them for free. Or there's the most coward leader we ever have. They know what's in it, and they choose not to talk about it because they want to keep their job.
Let's use the San Bernardino scenario as an example. The shooter, apparently, an American citizen.
Born in America.
Yeah, born in America.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia, went to Saudi Arabia. Some suggest came back after being radicalized in Saudi Arabia.
You cannot be radicalized by Saudi Arabia. You be radicalized by the words of Allah in the Quran. When we give all other reasons why people are becoming Muslim believers, we're deceiving ourselves. Brother David, in the beginning of this year, my beloved wife, she had a cancer in her tongue. And I thank God for the doctor whom she went and visited. And he told her on the spot, that is a cancer and we have to do surgery. We actually did 2 surgeries. Have this doctor did not tell my wife that she have cancer and name it some other name, my wife, she would be dead 5-6 months ago. That is a reality. When you don't name the problem, the proper name, when you don't investigate the problem and give it the right title, it will kill you. If we don't call Islam for what it is, it's a barbaric, savage cult. It teaches to kill Christians and Jews all over the world. They have been killing Christians and Jews and others who do not believe in Islam from the days of Muhammad and they. Listen to what Muhammad said. In the hadith, Sahih Muslim and Sahih Bukhari, Muhammad said, I have been commanded by Allah to engage in war with people until people believe in Allah.
A lot of people are watching us right now and saying you're spreading Islamophobia.
It's not Islamophobia, Brother David.
Which could be called bigotry or...
That's fine. You know why? Because these people have not read what I'm talking. I'm talking about Sahih Bukhari, the correct hadith by Bukhari. I'm talking about Sahih Muslim. I'm quoting Muslim books. I'm quoting the Quran. When you quote the Quran, you become Islamophobe. The Quran, 2/3 of the Quran teach hate. Read the Quran. Do you know what the answer is? Don't even read my translation. Forget about the generous Quran. Read Yusuf Ali translation. Go to Quran chapter 5, verse 72 and 73. Allah called every Christian infidel. Go to Quran chapter 47, verse 4. And Allah tells a Muslim, to what? When you meet those who became infidel, strike the necks until you have made a great slaughter among them. Brother David, we're talking about over 350 verses in the Quran teach hate. Not one verse in the entire Quran teach to love the Jews or to love the Christian. I'm sorry. If they call me Islamophobe, to tell them the truth, I call them stupid. Or, as a matter of fact, a better name, useful idiots. Because they're doing everything they can to destroy themselves and their grandchildren for the love of the Muslim. And that's not love. They worry about the feelings of the Muslim. I love the Muslim right, but I tell them, you are following a false prophet who is literally a child molester, a sex offender, a prophet pretender, a womanizer, an adulterer, and a thief, and a killer. Read the Quran, Brother David.
I know,
and here's the answer.
And I know we're out of time.
We need to love the Muslim people right by listening to the truth because they are victim number 1 of Islam. And sadly, the rest of the world is victim number 2.
Right.
And your website, thestraightway.org.
Thestraightway.org.
Thanks, Usama. And obviously, Hugh, people have strong feelings on this, and we're going to get people who will cheer what Usama just said and people who will say...
Certainly, and it really does go both ways, and it is such an emotional issue right now.
Yeah, all righty. Thanks again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.